That's right, today we're dropping into the ever-expansive worlds of Disney and Square Enix with Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Welcome to D&D Builds, where we have an outlet to create ridiculous D&D characters and hopefully stop driving the people in our lives insane with all of these ideas. Before we get started, if you click like on this video, I will pray to the dice gods that you get a nat 20 at least 3 times in your next D&D session. Lastly, feel free to check the links in the description, or you can join my Patreon and help me make future content like this. Now let's dive into Kingdom Hearts and figure out how to build Sora. Before we jump into class, race, or stats, we should take a quick look at what Sora's abilities actually are. He's got a ton of them across a lot of games, so let's just focus on the core abilities and see what we can fit into a real D&D character that is actually viable. Sora can use a variety of magical abilities. He can use some healing magic. He can use air to surround himself with a protective barrier, giving himself some sort of shield. He can blast people with fire, he can blast people with ice or cold magic, or he can rain down lightning with Kingdom Hearts' version of thunder magic. He does have some other more specialized magic, like his gravity magic. The last main magical ability he has is usually stop or time manipulation magic, where he freezes people in place. After he meets Peter Pan, he does get the ability to fly, and throughout pretty much all of the games, he does have some ability to summon friends to help him. Then we have the most defining characteristic of the Kingdom Hearts series, the Keyblade. A lot of our abilities are going to revolve around the Keyblade, so we really need to focus on that and figure out the best way to utilize this idea in a D&D build. So what class should we pick? It seems pretty obvious to people that play D&D, right? We should just grab the Eldritch Knight. They have the weapon bond, which allows you to teleport your blade instantly to your hand, and you have a very special bond with this weapon. This will even give you plenty of casting ability, which we're gonna need with this build. But something doesn't feel quite right with this. Fighters are all about their strength or dexterity, and with an Eldritch Knight, they also have a lot of emphasis on intelligence. Sora's not really known for his strength, at least not physically, and he's not really known for his intelligence either, despite having a few puzzles to solve here and there. So where does he get his strength? Well, he says it a couple million times throughout the series.
My friends, they are my power!
That's right. Sora's friends are his power, and to make a lot of friends, you need a lot of charisma. So what charisma-based class has a special unique bond with their weapon? That's right, we're going Hexblade. Some people might object to this because Sora isn't exactly dark and brooding and warlocky, but just because people think dark and brooding with a warlock doesn't mean that's the way we have to go. You can have a bright, fun, happy, friendly warlock. In fact, they get a cantrip called Friends. So let's defy some expectations and go Hexblade Warlock. Now that we know what class we're gonna go with, let's actually start diving into the race and stats. We could keep it simple, go human or variant human, and you're welcome to do that if you want, but there's one thing I keep looking at. That's right, Sora has those big honkin' feet. Yeah, they do tone down the shoes in the third game, but that first one, they were super noticeable, so we're gonna have a little fun with it. That, mixed with the fact that he is a little bit shorter, I kinda wanna mix it up a little bit, and instead of going human, I'm gonna go halfling. More specifically, we're gonna grab the Mark of Hospitality halfling. This boosts your abilities with your cooking utensils, so you can have a little more fun with ratatouille. And just to add to that, it also gives you purify food and drink. It gives you a few more spells to choose from, but we're not gonna really worry about those right now. And lastly, it gives you a cantrip, Prestidigitation. This is a very simple cantrip, which you can actually cast to clean an area. I just couldn't help but give a little nod to the amazing soundtrack, so you get a cantrip that's simple and cleans. For a background, we're just going to grab Far Traveler. It makes sense considering all of the traveling that he does with the gummy ship, and it gives you proficiency into insight so you can look into the hearts of those around you. When it comes to stats, we're going to keep it pretty straightforward. He does have those noodle arms, so we're going to dump strength down to 8. He is fairly nimble and hops around quite a bit, so we'll boost dexterity to 14. And with your halfling race, you get another +2, bringing it to 16. Your constitution's going to be set at 14, so you can take a few hits. Like we said, intelligence isn't really his forte, so we're going to dump that at 8. Wisdom, we're going to put at 12, just to give a little more insight into looking into your friends' hearts. And finally, charisma, we are going to max out at 15 and get the additional +1 from your mark of hospitality, bringing you up to 16, making it a little easier to make friends. And with our starting stats set, let's jump into level 1. At level 1, you get to choose an otherworldly patron, and in this case, I'm just going to pretend it's Mickey because I like that idea. So your otherworldly patron is a Hexblade or a Keyblade in this scenario. This gives you Hexblade's Curse, which is helpful, but not as helpful as the other feature, Hex Warrior. This will allow you to use your Charisma to power your attacks with your Keyblade, really making your friends your power.
I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
You also get access to a handful more spells, but we're going to worry about those a little later. But speaking of spells, at this level you also get Pact Magic. This will give you 2 cantrips, 2 known spells, and 1 spell slot. The cantrips we're going to grab are Friends and Frostbite. That way you can make friends a little more easily, and it takes care of our cold magic. For the 2 spells, let's grab Comprehend Languages so you can understand whatever the heck Donald is saying. And Charm Person, just because you're charming. There are of course a few proficiencies you get at level 1 as well, like light armor, but why would you ever want to change out of the sweet clothes that Sora always rocks? So we're not going to worry about most of those proficiencies for right now anyways. The only ones we really care about are our saving throws, which are Wisdom and Charisma, and Wisdom is going to be especially great because usually that's the save you need to worry about when it comes to getting feared. But thanks to being a halfling, you also have advantages on saving throws against being frightened, thanks to the feature Brave. At level 2, you get some Eldritch Invocations and 1 more spell. The spell we're going to take is Armor of Agathis. The reason we're taking this is because in Kingdom Hearts 3, you get a special water shield, and Armor of Agathis surrounds you in cold magic, and then you can blast somebody that hits you. As far as the invocations, we're going to take Armor of Shadows. That way you never have to get rid of those sweet outfits you get throughout the series, and this can help substitute for your air spells that helps shield you. And also, of course, we're going to take Improved Pact Weapon, which will just make your Keyblade a little bit stronger. At level 3, we finally get our Pact Boon, and obviously we're going to take Pact of the Blade, so you can really make a pact with your Keyblade. Your spells also get upgraded to level 2, and you get 1 more spell. We're going to take Hold Person, and then we can later swap it out for Hold Monster. This will take care of our Stop Magic or Time Magic. At level 4, we get an ability score improvement, so we're just going to boost up our Charisma 2 more points, bringing it to 18. We also get 1 more spell and 1 more cantrip. The cantrip we're going to take is Sword Burst, so that way you can swirl your Keyblade around you, and the spell we're going to take is Fly. Now we can soar around with Peter Pan all we want. At level 5, we get 1 more invocation and 1 more spell, and our spells get upgraded to level 3. The invocation we're going to take is Thirsting Blade, that way we can swing our blade much more and get in some combos. As far as our next spell, let's take Banishment, that way you can banish the Heartless or Organization 13 back to whatever realm or Kingdom Hearts or timeline or whatever place they're from. At level 6, we do get 1 more spell, so we're finally going to take a spell from our Hexblade list, and let's just take Shield, because if your Mage Armor wasn't doing it, you can upgrade that Air Magic and use Shield at the same time. You also get a special ability from Hexblade called Accursed Spectre. This was a little tricky to fit in, but I think I found the perfect use for it with Sora. You can cause the spirit to rise from someone slain by you, or someone slain by your Keyblade. So this actually gives a reason as to how you're able to unlock your own heart with your Keyblade and become a Heartless. At level 7, you get 1 more spell, your spells get upgraded to level 4, and you get 1 more Eldritch Invocation. It's really hard to get certain gravity spells unless you happen to be a gravity wizard, so we need to cheese the gravity spells just a tiny bit, and we're going to take Hunger of Hadar. This will create some difficult terrain, slow people down, and I think it works just enough. Not to mention it creates a sphere of blackness which looks pretty close to what actually happens when you cast the spell in the games. As far as our invocation, we're just going to take Eldritch Smite. That way you could really hit hard, and you can really save it for when you crit, because then you'll really hit like a truck and get all the money. At level 8, we get another ability score improvement, so we're going to max out our Charisma, and we get 1 more spell, but it doesn't matter what that spell is because we're going to swap it out in a second anyways. So finally we hit level 9, which is actually going to be our last level in Warlock, where we get 1 more spell, our spells are upgraded to level 5, and we get 1 more invocation. Since we saved our spells from last level, we're going to take 2 here, and both of them are going to be from the Hexblade list. We're going to take Cone of Cold to really up that cold magic that we get all the way up to Blizzaga level, and then we're going to take Banishing Smite. So that way when you hit Ansem really hard, you banish him into Kingdom Hearts or wherever the hell he's supposed to go, because there's way too much lore for me to keep track of. And there's not a whole lot of great invocations to choose from, but I think the one that fits most is Otherworldly Leap. It allows you to cast Jump at will, and Sora definitely has some serious hops. As for level 10, we're actually going to duck out of being a warlock because there's one thing that we can't avoid as much as we want to, and that's the musical levels. Yeah, the new rhythm-based game was kind of fun, but I don't know very many people that really enjoyed the Under the Sea level in Kingdom Hearts 2. But we need to face it head on, and what better musical choice to make than becoming a bard? This will let you be proficient in another musical instrument, although I'm not sure if underwater musical instruments are much of a thing, but we'll pretend they are. And you get one more skill proficiency, so we're going to take Performance. At your first level of Bard, you know 4 spells, 2 cantrips, and you get Bardic Inspiration to inspire all of your friends. As far as our 2 cantrips, we're going to take Vicious Mockery, that way you can pull out that sick burn.
You're stupid!
And we're going to take Light, because everybody knows Kingdom Hearts is light. And that's also why we're not taking Darkness as a spell at any point in this build. As far as our first 4 spells, we'll take Healing Word, that way you finally get your healing magic. And since it's only Healing Word, not Healing Words, it makes sense when you just shout, Heal! We're also going to take Tasha's Hideous Laughter, for reasons. Then we're going to take Animal Friendship, since half of your friends are animals. And finally at this level, we're going to take Heroism. That way maybe Phil can finally give you some respect. Then at level 2, you get to learn one more spell, but we're just going to save that for next level. You get Jack of all trades to make you a little better at everything, and you get Song of Rest. We can somehow fit that into Dream Drop Distance or something. At level 3, we get a Bard College, we get Expertise, and we get one more spell, and finally access to level 2 spell slots. As far as Expertise, just throw it at Performance and Insight. It seems to fit. Now that we have access to level 2 spells, and we have 2 spells waiting to be chosen, let's take Enlarge Reduce, so that way you have a little easier time in the Alice in Wonderland levels. And we can take Pyrotechnics. That way we can try and simulate summoning random Disney rides, which does feel pretty out of place considering the rest of this build, but we're going to fit it in anyways. As far as a college, I was pretty torn here. There is a college called Valor, and Sora does have a Valor form. But I think what works a little better is lore, because anybody who's ever played any Kingdom Hearts game or knows anything about the storyline knows there's a heck of a lot of lore, and it is a lot to keep track of. So we're going to stick with College of Lore. This will give you some bonus proficiencies in 3 more skills. We can take Athletics, Acrobatics, and Persuasion, because I don't see much else really fitting really well with Sora. It's not like he really tries to deceive anyone. And Cutting Words, so that way you can distract or try and convince your enemies to turn away from darkness. At level 4, you get another ability score improvement. We're just going to dump that into Dexterity, so that way you're a little extra nimble. You get one more cantrip. We're just going to take Blade Ward, so you can block some attacks. And you get one more spell. For the spell, I really like Kinetic Jaunt. This lets you really glide around the battlefield a lot easier, and it can simulate your wisdom form a little more. At level 5, your Bardic Inspiration gets boosted, you get one more spell, and access to level 3 spell slots. And what better way to use that spell than for Fast Friends? At level 6, you get Counter Charm to really try and drive home that whole idea of turning your friends away from darkness. You get to learn one more spell from being a bard, and then you get to learn 2 additional spells from any school just because you're a lore bard. So the spell we're going to take from the bard list is Dispel Magic. That way you can seal the keyholes in whatever world you're in. As for the spells you want to take from other classes, I would take Alter Self. That way you can swim in the undersea world much more easily, or just make yourself look like you fit in a little more. And then I would also take another nod to the soundtrack of the games with Sanctuary. At level 7, you get one more spell and access to 4th level spell slots. But we're just going to use that spell for Motivational Speech, because everybody knows there's at least a couple moments in every game where Sora has to stop and really give a big heartwarming speech. Although what he could have taken at this level is locate creature to maybe find Kairi and Riku faster, but then the games would have been way shorter and that's not exactly Square Enix's style. At level 8, we could take an ability score improvement, but instead, we're going to take the feat Magic Initiate. With this, we can go into the Sorcerer's spell list and take Firebolt, so we can finally get that fire magic that we needed, and we can take Magic Missile, which will really round out our Wisdom form. You also get one more spell to choose from here, and I would take Polymorph, because Alter Self might help in some ways, but it's not going to make you an actual Lion Cub to go into the Lion King level. At level 9, our Song of Rest gets upgraded, we get one more spell, and we get access to a level 5 spell slot. So we have plenty of choices here. I thought about taking maybe Modify Memory or Synaptic Static, but that's more used against him and Roxas than he actually uses it himself. So we're going to take Dream, just to stick with a theme and the whole dream drop distance thing. At level 10, our Bardic Inspiration gets upgraded. We can get Expertise and 2 more skills, so let's boost our Persuasion and Acrobatics as we're hopping around all the time. And you can actually access spells from another class again. So with our Magical Secret and all of the spells we have access to at this point, we're going to take Call Lightning to finally get our Thunder spell, and this should be super spot on. You just rain down lightning on people. And I had a super difficult time trying to figure out how to really pull off summoning, because throughout the games you summon a lot of different types of creatures. Couldn't do Find Familiar or just summon Fae or something, but thankfully Kingdom Hearts 3 actually solves this for us. In Kingdom Hearts 3, when you're summoning your friends, they're not just summoning them normally anymore. They're actually more of elementals. So we're going to take the spell, Summon Elemental. At level 11, you'll have access to 6 level spell slots, and this is the final level of the class. So with all of the spells we've chosen, you can use all of them, and we actually have 1 spell left, so you can use it for what you want. But if you really want to have some more fun with Ratatouille, you can take Hero's Feast. And now that we've finally hit level 20 in this build, we've officially created Sora from Kingdom Hearts in D&D. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. Just as a bonus, here's a picture of my dog who helped inspire me to make this video because she looks like she belongs in a Disney cartoon. I really appreciate you sticking around. Feel free to check the links down in the description where you can join our Patreon or check out our socials. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel a ton. If you have ideas for future videos, make sure to mention them in the comments down below. If there's anything you'd do differently or any mistakes I made, feel free to mention those too. Until next time, here's me hoping you roll a nat 20.